What's up, guys? Swift here covering everything Chicago Bears related. And while we are still letting night one of the NFL draft soak in, it really happened. We really got Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze, a night most of us will remember forever. But the draft isn't over yet. We have one pick tonight, a third rounder, pick number 75, and then one pick tomorrow in the fourth round, 122. But heading into day two tonight, there is an abundance of talent still on the board, especially at the Bears' positions of need. Today, I want to talk about the best players remaining in the draft and guys I think could end up becoming Chicago Bears tonight. I also think there's definitely a good chance that Ryan Poles trades up on night two, something that would definitely catch some people off guard. But there's just a ton of talent still on the board, and I want to talk about the top players still available and how I think day two could play out. Let's get right into it. First off, I want to discuss the possibility of a trade up tonight. We do not pick until number 75, and there's a ton of talent still on the board, meaning Ryan Poles could very well wait until pick 75 and pick the best player available. But I also think there's a strong possibility that as long as things fall right, Poles could use one or two of his extra draft picks from next year's class in order to move up and acquire a third impact player in this draft class. We already have Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams, but imagine if we added a Jackson Powers Johnson or Zach Frazier with it, or even an Adiza Isaac or a Braden Fisk for that defensive line. Let's look at the guys still on the board, and I'm going to cover the players I think are most likely to be picked by the Bears tonight. First off, on the offensive side of the ball, I just mentioned our two standout centers. Either one of those guys would be a grand slam pick if we somehow landed them. Center has been a problem for the Bears since Olin Kreutz left Chicago. Taking care of that position could pay dividends when it comes to Caleb Williams' development. And isn't that what it's all about in the first place? Same with grabbing one of the remaining offensive tackles. The most likely guy is Yale's Kieran Omegadiji, but Patrick Paul, Kingsley Suamatea, and Roger Rosengarten could all fit that bill as well. Improving the offensive line should also be a priority. There are also two interior guys with first round talent in Christian Haynes and Cooper Beebe that are still on the board. I'd be happy with one of those guys as well. While I do not think we will be drafting another wide receiver tonight, just seeing Adonai Mitchell, Keon Coleman, and Malachi Corley still on the board, as well as a ton of others, shows just how strong this wide receiver class is. There is a chance we could take a wide receiver maybe tomorrow night, later in the draft, but what about us taking a tight end today? If that happens, Ben Sinnott would be my favorite. If that happens, Ben Sinnott would be the guy I think would be that choice. But then moving on to the defensive side of the ball, though, this is what I think is probably most likely to happen tonight. Adding a player to this defensive line for a couple of reasons here. First off, we just saw the most offensive players ever drafted in the first round in the history of the NFL draft. 23 offensive players went on night one, meaning only 9 defensive guys went, meaning there were less than 10 defensive players taken in the entire first round. That leaves a lot of talent still here on the defensive side of the ball, and the likelihood that one of these guys fall to us is pretty high. Poles could stay right where he is at pick 75, and he should still be able to add someone from this list of defensive line players. Out of Jerzon Newton, Braden Fisk, Chris Jenkins, Ruka Rororo, Mike Hall, Brandon Dorless, Adiza Isaac, Marshawn Nealon, Chris Braswell, Austin Booker, or Jonah Ellis. With some other guys later as well, all of those guys are still on the board, and I believe the chances are very high that Ryan Poles adds someone to the defensive line tonight. I think Poles could identify one of these guys that he really likes and make a move up for them if he wanted as well. I also included Javon Bullard on the list. A guy like him or Tyler Nubin, I will not rule out 100%, but it is looking less likely. So let's talk about what I think is most likely to happen tonight. Day two is tough. It's so unpredictable with this much talent still on the board. I'd love a trade up for one of these top offensive linemen, but I wouldn't mind adding to the defensive line either. I think the 5 guys most likely to end up being Bears tonight are, in no particular order, Yale offensive tackle Kieran Omegediji, Penn State defensive end Adiza Isaac, Oregon defensive lineman Brandon Dorless, Florida defensive lineman Braden Fisk, and lastly, I think there's a good chance that Ryan Poles actually makes a move up the board tonight to finally stabilize this center position by landing either Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon or Zach Frazier out of West Virginia. Both of those players were brought in for top 30 visits. Both players were also at the Senior Bowl. If we could add one of those centers, this would be by far the best Bears draft in history. That is my bold prediction for tonight. I think Poles can move up and draft a center or even possibly an edge rusher. If not, he should stay put and address the defensive line. Karen Omegediji is another guy who, if he's on the board, I would really like that pick. But after the whirlwind of night one, landing 2 of the best 3 players in the entire draft, what is Ryan Poles' plan for an encore tonight? We only have 1 pick tonight and 1 pick tomorrow. It is possible we can move up from either one of those picks or move down and acquire an additional selection or 2. Ryan Poles has flexibility here, but I actually think it's more likely that we trade up than it is that we trade down. If we were going to trade down, I think number 9 was the sweet spot. And I said it yesterday going into the draft. If Rome Odunze is on the board, you take him. I would run to the board and turn it in. And that's what the Bears did. They took Odunze instantly. But that meant we passed up our opportunity to trade down and acquire a second or an additional 3rd-round pick. But I'm much happier landing Rome Odunze at pick 9. So I wouldn't mind dipping into next year's draft capital in order to move up from one of those picks or acquire an additional selection. Let me know what you guys think. I will be live tonight before we make our pick at number 75 and have a post-draft show scheduled over on the Monsters of the Gridiron channel. Stay tuned for that, guys. Please remember to hit the like button for me. And until next time, bear down. Just in case you guys missed it, one final update. Caleb Williams is officially number 18, and Rome Odunze is officially going to wear number 15 with the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams already broke the record for most jersey sales in one night. He broke the record that Caitlin Clark just set a couple weeks ago.